They're the surprise extra charges edging up your bill every time you go out for a meal. And now automatic surcharges are on the rise. Cafes and restaurants accused of rorting Aussie diners.
You know, you have a good night, have a meal, have a drink, next minute you slog with a few extra dollars and you think, that's not real fair.
A parma and a pint, the price on the menu, $38. You place your order and tap your card to pay, suddenly it's $41.80. Automatic surcharges ranging from 5 to 20% are ramping up across the country, with extra fees for weekends, QR codes, public holidays, FPOS and even peak season.
That's not a good thing. It does annoy you.
I think they should be more honest about it.
It seems ridiculous to me that you're faced with a bill that is not what was on the menu when you arrived.
The number of restaurants and cafes slugging us with surcharges rose from 25% in 2022 to 40% last year. Businesses slapping on the extra fees in a bid to combat rising costs.
We're seeing insurance, labour, utilities, rent, all escalating.
But while many businesses say they have no choice,
These costs, in most cases, need to be passed on consumers if that cafe or restaurant is to survive.
experts are calling the trend highway robbery.
Your average cardholder is now paying $140 or more every year in card surcharges, which is for basically nothing.
Under Australian consumer law, a surcharge must cover the cost of processing a card payment and no more. Any extra charges should be clearly displayed.
What I don't think is fair is that small businesses are paying disproportionately high fees to process payments. There's a massive markup. So the small businesses get gouged and then the consumers get gouged, and then we've got payment companies and banks making out like bandits.
And some business owners are choosing not to add a surcharge.
You know, I might perhaps put coffee up 10 cents, and to me that covers some of those additional costs that I'm facing.
So are battling businesses right to pass on their hip pocket pain to the rest of us, or are diners getting a raw deal?
Amanda Rose is the founder of Small Business Women Australia. Amanda, are diners here getting a raw deal?
Kind of. So small businesses and diners are kind of getting a raw deal here because there's no real detail of why they're getting charged, the small business or the diner getting charged for the surcharge in the first place. So I think instead of attacking a small business owner, we should be looking at the banks, the merchants, what's going on here? Why are they passing down this cost? And I'll have to admit, unfortunately, there are some small businesses that are taking advantage of this and adding extra costs on top. And then the big companies can absorb it. But when it comes down to the facts, small businesses are getting hit from every possible angle. So we need to be asking the question of why they're getting charged to be able to use, or for their diners to be able to use a credit card when there's no other option.
But let's make some distinctions, right? So, like paying the FPOS or the credit surcharge because that's what the bank charges, understand that. Extra charges on the weekend because of penalty rates, understand that. QR codes. So I'm sorry, I cannot cope with this. I don't understand because they're providing less service because there's no one coming out to take your order. It's a worse service because you can't make alterations to what you're ordering. We're giving them data, so there's probably a data farming thing going on, and then they want to charge us for the privilege of this worse experience. How does this make any sense?
Well, it doesn't really. So the reality is any consumer does not being forced into doing something. So if they're forced into the QR code, then they have to use their credit card and they get hit with all these charges. A lot of businesses have to pay subscription to be able to use a QR code for that purpose. Yes, there are businesses that are taking advantage of that and trying to sometimes make up the fact that they're losing profit with supply costs and staff costs. So they're trying to find another avenue. It's the secrecy. It's not being upfront that people have an issue with. Because if you say to your customer, this is how much it's costing us and we're hurting, so we've had to do this, this and this, so be it. But again, I'd like the focus to go back on the bigger businesses or the banks to say, well, hang on a minute, what can you do to help small business get through this?
Is it also a bit rich when businesses ask for a tip after making you use a QR code? Happy to pay for good service, but come on, we're getting hit here too.
I think when big businesses do it, I find it quite insulting because they can absorb a lot of costs. Small business, I wouldn't say force a tip, but maybe have a donation to help others because people genuinely want to help others that are hurting.
But what are you tipping for?
I mean, it's called tip shaming, though.
I mean, I was at dinner the other night. They whacked the machine down, and your option is, 20, 15 or 10% tip.
No, sure.
And I just feel like I have to tip.
No, that's happening. But the QR code, literally, who am I tipping?
No, I know. I get your QR code.
Can we tip
Technological
ourselves?
overlords, that's who.
You have to tip though, Pricey, because you're rich. The rest of us have no excuse.
Well, I know that, but I still feel, that I'm being shamed.
This is why cash is great, because if I have great service by someone at a restaurant or cafe, I actually give that individual cash directly because I also want to make sure they get it personally.
Oh, which brings me to my final point here, Amanda, even though I'm yet to make an initial point. But my final point is the 3 words, cash is king. Is this all a sign that we just need to go back to cash?
It's more than 3 words.
Is it?
Well, cash is king. And I think we need to, don't be so quick to say technology is wonderful, because it isn't necessarily wonderful, especially when it comes to small business and now even the end user. So go back to cash as much as possible and force people to use it or encourage people to use it, because we're just too quick to get out that card and tap it and then we go, hang on a minute, we're being charged for it.
Amanda, thanks for your time.
Thank you.